intriguing topic and also to understand what these speakers have to say. Joining with me is most of the most prominent people in this industry who have their views to talk about positive periods. And this is what we are going to speak about: how to create a period positive workplace. Joining with me today is Pooja Sanghvi, lead talent and culture from BabyChakra, Shweta Dubey, an author and NLP trainer, a mindfulness coach, also, Feroza engineer, founder, CEO, Feroza and Company, a performance coach, leadership development expert, Powerhouse facilitator, and Dr. Arushi Kehar Malhotra, senior manager, research, advocacy and wellness, Sirona Healthcare Private Limited. We are doing this panel discussion along with BabyChakra and Sirona Hygiene. And the most intriguing part to understand that in this industry, women are at the top. We have seen so many changes in the last 2 years and before that also. And while we are talking about periods, it's still a taboo in most of the places. While this is an incredible achievement, there is a rarity that many women talk on the business. But do you know that a simple structural change in the policy at the workplaces can make the organization work very easy and navigate them to who they are finding out places? To understand this more in detail, let us welcome to the esteemed panel out here. How are you all doing, everybody?
Good,
Very well,
thank
thank you
you.
so much.
Well, to begin with, we have our first guest, Dr. Arushi. She has been working in this field for many years, and for her, it is a new way to educate people and to talk about it. Dr. Arushi, I would like to ask you that have you ever encountered any kind of an awkwardness or a reluctance from anybody in the organization when it comes to talking about menstruation? Can you share your thoughts on this, please?
Sure. So I feel at Sirona, no, we talk about periods very openly because we are a feminine hygiene brand. But in general, I guess this awkwardness comes, very naturally to us in the sense that we are being brought up with this awkwardness. We are being taught about this awkwardness in an awkward way. That
Okay.
we should not talk about it, and it should be a hush and shoo and under the carpet, and never talk about it in front of men, in front of guys. Chapters are being skipped in school, or guys are being sent out of classroom to play in the ground, and girls are only taught about this chapter, and that too like एक class में पूरा chapter खत्म. That sort of awkwardness is what all of us have come across. So we are being born and like brought up with that awkwardness. So of course that just keeps carrying on from school, then to college, then to workplaces, then to when people have their own daughters or wives, and then this awkwardness just keeps going forward from one generation to the other. So I feel that the core has to change, the very beginning has to change, and that is when the awkwardness will become like a openness. And where we'll talk about it, like we talk about breathing problems, like we talk about eye problems, like we talk about fever, and so I feel it is as normal as breathing, as blinking my eyes, as talking. So it should be discussed like that, and it should be spoken about like that. But sadly the reality is opposite. But I think slowly change will happen. And I think when people like all of us will come together and start talking about it very normally, the awkwardness will go away. So
Thank
yeah.
you for sharing your thoughts. Coming to Pooja, Pooja, I would like to ask you, holding an HR position, how do you feel that the leadership team has committed themselves for improving the menstrual literacy?
I think today corporates and all the leaders are they're educated about the fact that period is a natural phenomena for every woman, and acceptance has grown like beyond. I think where the struggle lies is with the blue collared set of females who still work and maybe at a construction place, or at a workplace where a lot of female blue collar staff is involved. That is where I think the growth is evolved. But I guess the corporate sector is very well educated on this. There are few organizations who have special period policies also. Of course, there's a lot of debate on that, whether we should have, we should not have. But overall, the literacy has definitely been improving as we speak also, right? So I think one important step would be that in the industries where there are more blue collared women, they should be taken care of, and they should be educated. I think that should also again come from leaders. I can give a short example. I was working at an organization which used to make lingerie, where there were more than 100 female, basically they used to do the tailoring work there. And the masters who used to do the cutting were males. Apparently, what I found is that they were very reluctant to express that they couldn't be to work because they were facing period problems, right? So that's an awareness which I brought in that organization. I had to talk to the masters as well, that it's natural. I'm sure your mom, your sister, your wife are going through it, and it's absolutely okay for them to not come to work, and give them that rest. Also brought in some few changes like stocking up sanitaries, ensuring that they feel more at comfort, at ease, getting a few special chairs which could like give them a little comfort on their back, on their rest. So these were small changes, and I think the biggest support point was the founder of the company. He absolutely supported this initiative, and along with me he too sat with the masters that यार ये काफ़ी नॉर्मल है, तो इसमें आप लोगों को भी कोई झिझक रखने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, और ना ही उनको बोलने में. एंड आई थिंक दैट रियली हेल्प changed, and that helped in improving the attrition as well, and even the absenteeism, like that improved a lot when this conversation was openly discussed. So I think that's the area where the focus should be, and corporate leaders are very well in sync to this.
That was a wonderful thought shared by you, Pooja. Now, coming to Feroza, I have a very, very particular question for you. Why should we take a note of periods in general? So, when it comes to a larger crowd, could you share your thoughts on this, please?
Thank you. I'm operating from a lens of stereotype,
Oh,
or what I've heard so far in the panel. Um, and sometimes I feel generationally, whether it's the young ones at home or the elderly folk, how can I open a stereotype if I don't know even what it is? Like personally, I'm completely against this whole thing of break the bias, break the stereotype. Have you seen these words that we use, right? Around Women's Day, we will have these campaigns: break the bias, break the glass ceiling, break the break. Uh, I personally view it as, first open the bias, open the stereotype. So whether it's the example that Arushi spoke about, or what Pooja just said, that jhijakna nahi hai. So I think whether it's in larger institutions like schools and colleges, or even in organizations, first are you addressing what it is before you even create, because in our country we have so many organizations that have established menstrual leave policies, right? Swiggy, Dwight, Zomato, I Gozo, Byju's. There are a lot, and in fact, I didn't know, but research tells me that Bihar is one state in our country that has been vocalizing this and championing this since 1992. I mean, that was news for me. So the lens maybe I'm taking in with this is, बात करने से बात आगे जाएगी. Like if you don't talk about it, if you don't open a stereotype or open a bias, then how are people going to know that, hey, this is okay? Or my mother doesn't have to spend 5 days on an aluminium bed. And apparently, at an MNC, she's a leader's leader. But at home, she's spending 5 days on this aluminium bed. Like how ridiculous it could be, right? For the child growing up, looking at these two things, that in the morning she's handling a town hall, but on 5 days in a month, she's on an aluminium bed. So my personal view and professional view would also be that first let's open these stereotypes. Let's talk about them. Let's create a little more awareness before we start making policies. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Shweta, coming to you and having an understanding being a NLP practitioner, I would like to understand how do you define a mindset of people who are not so open to talk about periods at workplace? So how can we understand them and probably help them to help us to have a safer workplace?
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Pooja. Yes, I really agree to what Feroza said. Coming to the same, as if I talk about in the language of psychology, we are born and brought up generationally in that way. So, as far as my knowledge goes, from cavemen to now, the people who were menstruating were people who were doing black magic, who were kept in dark. So it comes from there. So it has been hiding from there. And now that we have reached here, hush hush is going on. It's not just for me or you. It comes from our own grandmothers and their grandmothers and their grandmothers. It's from generation it has been passing on. If I talk just about me, when I had my first period, I am like shivering. I was in class 6th, and fingers crossed I was at home. I thought that there is something really wrong with me. Probably I have blood cancer. Oh my God. It was that bad. And I was in a shock completely. And then after a couple of months, even I used to think, see a lady and think, कि, अच्छा शायद इसको भी होता होगा. अच्छा शायद she is also going through the same as I am going. But I had no guts to really go and ask her, even my mother for that matter. She did not say that even I go through the same changes, I went through the same as you are going. It was all kept under the dark, you know. So, as an NLP practitioner, I would say that it's all about expanding your own viewpoint. Break the boundaries. खिड़की खोलेंगे नहीं तो हवा आएगी कहाँ से? So really open up to talk about it. Create that awareness. If I talk about my own husband, he was also a lot more unknown than me. So both of us, a lot of things were really hidden. So are you having it twice in a month like it's been just 15 days? That kind of gap we used to have. Because I have an arranged marriage, we never talked about it to my husband, or my brother or my father for that matter. It's a really time to bring that change and create awareness. Open up the boundaries, खिड़की खोलो और हवा आने दो. So we really need to shift.
Thank you for enlightening us, Shweta. Dr. Arushi, when we are talking about this to our colleague or to a person at a workplace that I am down today, I'm not feeling well, but still they have a taboo in their mind, and they give us that kind of a look, and they're taken aback. So would they treat it as like an illness kind of a thing, or would they show empathy towards you? So from the biological aspects, how should they really help you out? Can you share your thoughts on this?
Great. So from a biological point of view, it is normal. Everything is so normal, and it is so important to put this whole message across that when you have periods, it is normal. Please, it is normal. So, from a biological point of view, yes, it is normal, but comes with its own normal NCs. For example, abdominal pain, very different for every woman. If all of us who are menstruators would start comparing our periods, it'll be very different for each one of us. So everyone has different normals of theirs, right? So it is very important to put that across to the leadership, that that many women would face many normal things in very normal ways but differently. And I feel that it is so important to talk about it amongst ourselves as colleagues. And so important that from the CXO level to the supporting staff bhaiyas, everyone should just be aware of how normal this is and how the whole process is, so that everyone just can have open conversations and not like again in silos or in small groups or only girls talking about it, menstruators talking about मुझे periods में ये होता है तुझे होता है, but rather than that,
Right.
how we become like so open to each other that I can even walk up to my ऑफिस भैया एंड से भैया आपके पास पैड है, भैया पैड दे सकते हो, भैया ला सकते हो, imagine that kind of scenario. I also remember one of the leaders in the industry posted on LinkedIn where one of his employees, menstruating employees, wrote to him in an email saying, I've got my periods, it's my second day, I'm in a lot of pain, I'm not coming today. And he felt so awkward. He had actually put it down in that post, and he said I felt so awkward because I've never received such kind of posts, such kind of emails. And I was mum and I did not respond to that. And the next day the employee came back to office and I told her, you don't have to write all these things. But at the same time, at the end of the post, he said that how important it is to have conversations like these, because where are we heading to, where are we heading to as a generation, as a society, is very important. We spend most of our times at our workplaces. If there we are not having these sort of conversations, then where will we, homes anyways become like a very silo kind of a environment, but at
Correct.
workplaces we find like so many kinds of people, and of course all genders. So we should
Yes.
really kind of start having these conversations at workplaces. So yeah, that's what I feel.
Thank you for putting up such a wonderful point. Coming to you, Pooja, when we are talking about workplaces and when we say, she is not coming to work, does it really impact the business? And if then how can it be managed at that point of a time? Because some people might have extreme pains, they may not be showing up for 2 days or 3 days. And if this becomes like monthly, then, it becomes noticeable for everybody. Then how, what would be your thoughts on this, on how does the business manage, and then what do you look, how do you look for it?
Sure. So, Pooja, one thing I would like to bring is that I think as women, we have that natural ability of being multitaskers and doing like just doing all the things that works normally, right? So here, all of us are talking about this is quite a normal kind of a phenomena, right? So again, I think couple of breaks if we take right in between, like if I'm on my periods and I tell my manager I'm on my period, I would like to take another 3 hours off, but I'll ensure deliverables will be there. So this
Okay.
kind of an approach will definitely not have a business impact. And I think today women are quite aware about their responsibilities, the professionalism that they owe towards the work that they do. So pretty much everyone balances the way, and I think the organizations are also opening up to the whole idea and having that understanding. So if there's a critical meeting, which today say suppose someone is heading and that person is at
Yes.
maybe at the CXO level, and for XYZ reason he or she is not able to do that, I think everyone respects that. And I think the person will also kind of push herself, to kind of do this and then kind of take the off that is required. So it's all about the feeling of making this quite normal. The more you make it
Mm-hmm.
normal, the more easier, even by just the the person, the boss coming and saying, that it's fine, it's okay, we will delay it by another 2 hours, right? I think that will naturally give an ease and a comfort, and like you can start. So I think the business doesn't get largely impacted by this for sure.
Right. Thank you for giving us those thoughts that it, if it's spoken to the manager, definitely the it could be talked out and things can be really really set it in. Firoza, coming to you and understanding that since the last 2 years things have changed completely. Pre and post COVID, the scenario has changed, and also we were talking about you know organization policies and gender equality also onto this. So what are your thoughts on this, and how do you see it now compared to the what we had era of pre-COVID?
Sure. but I'm gonna pull a thread from what I'm just hearing, right? Um, there was during my school days there was an aunt who was not so dear to me, uh, and I would still end up asking these tough questions to her. So the time I got my periods, I'm like, what is this nonsense? Why do we have to suffer with this? Like really?
Hmm.
So she ended up saying this, Arey, we women, we have to go through periods. See the men, they have to shave almost every day. So bichara men go through this and we are going through this. I know she tried it in her own sweet way to, make me feel inclusive, make me feel that, okay, we are not the only ones suffering. We have to suffer once in a week, in a month. They are suffering with this beard, idhar, ye. They have to shave. It's normal. It's normal. And I think this word normal, no, I am not okay with. And even on this panel, I've heard it so many times. Whereas if we were to just inculcate that it's natural, so whichever gender you belong to, right? It's natural that certain things are going to happen because that is who you are. Because I can't debate with what is normal to you versus what's normal to me. Um,
Right.
that's like my first point of are we looking at things the way they are, first of all, and acknowledging them.
Hmm.
So if you look at the pre-pandemic area, all of this still existed.
Yes.
It did. But maybe we did not have this umbrella of pandemic hai, lockdown hai, COVID hai. Like, there was also a research done by Google that in 2020, the most Googled word was compassion.
Correct.
So I'm thinking, did people suddenly wake up in 2020 and go like, "Acha, compassion ka matlab kya hai?" Or like, did they do that? Because in the most basic sense, compassion is empathy in action. So when it's regarding periods, when it's something so natural, like can we develop a little more empathy towards this? Because it's not like some super special or some secret or some. It's natural. Like this is going to happen. Yet, I think this whole pre-COVID, post-COVID era, right? It's almost like how we would have AC/DC. Now we almost
Yes.
also talk in this pre-COVID, post-COVID. I think at least what it has done is it has brought to light these issues, these concerns, and you must have heard about this phrase also right now going around called quiet quitting.
Yes.
Right. So, like every now and then, you will have a lingo that emerges. But are we spending enough time in breaking this down? That's maybe the difference I notice as a consultant, that people want to talk about it. People are kind of bringing it up because the generations that are entering the workforce, they deeply care about these things. It's
Yes.
it's
Yes.
not the other things that they care about. So if talent migration is a issue for your organization, then are you figuring out what are these natural things maybe that you could first address?
Hmm.
That's my view.
Wow. Very lovely you have put it up. Thank you so much. And Shweta, see, dealing with individuals is not very easy, but when it comes to health and when it comes to, focusing on your own health, but when you're not well, you are out of focus, right? And especially when you are at workplace, it makes it very very difficult for a woman, or for a woman to find a mental peace or a mental balance. So at that point of time, what are the steps she should be taking in, and try and have her focus on work rather than on her health? What thoughts you have to say over here?
Okay, as far as I see, menstrual cycle is 28 days. When you talk about menstrual cycle, is a 28-day cycle, and then you have your periods, right? So these 28 days, we talk about Amavasya and Ekadashi. It's 7, 7, 7, 7, broken into 7 parts. Like, so it starts with your winter. So when you are in your period, is the time of restoration. So you need to rest, be silent, and introspect or do easy things. You crave for iron and minerals. So if you want to eat something like that, go ahead along with that. So it's a winter time. That special season that you see outside, it is in your system, in your cycle. So first 7 days of your period, you need to take care of those. And then the next 7 days come when it is spring. Like spring, you can come out of your cocoon and try out different things. uh, you can go for your endurance training or pick up things, like you are more confident to go out. And again, the next 7 days is more like summer, so you are full of confidence. You can put up things which makes you more confident. For example, I am not comfortable right now in a public speaking scenario, but when the third week of menstrual cycle is going on, you will be able to go on the stage, bring up fire. It's all summer within you. It's hot, right?
Yes.
Even when it comes to finding a mate for yourself at that point of time. Now again, then it comes the fourth cycle, which is autumn. So autumn is there, you are shedding, you need to focus, sit down and do some intriguing task and detail fine motor skills. So these are the things that you can look up to. Break into four parts: 7 7 7 7. That's the way we are wired. That is the moon cycle which we women go through. So if you really pay attention to each one of them, you can plan your entire month accordingly. That's how I see it as a woman. Yeah.
Wow. That is how lovely you have put it. And the thoughts that you have shared, that on those days she can rest it up, and then she can charge her energy and get back to the force so that
This
she
can
doesn't
help
miss
you
out
be
on this.
inclusive in an organization also. Most of the men, I am sure, even the women, they don't know about these energy cycles. If we bring these awareness campaigns and educate the men along with the women, I am sure they can bring up a timetable, because everything is pre-planned in an organization. This can bring
Yes.
up, yes, so this can help you to really see how a women's cycle goes, and we can plan the entire month accordingly. Not like all of a sudden, oh my god, the periods are here. Like it need not to be a, the period should be our ally, not something in a horror scene you are going to enter, right? Like
Right,
nobody
right.
says that, oh my god, I love my periods. And for me, I'll really say, for me, I call it Raj Yog, because I need to rest and go into my cocoon.
Yeah, very well said. Very well said. Thank you, Shweta, for sharing your thoughts on this. And last but not the least, Dr. Arushi, coming to the final question to you. Any sustainable policies that that you find which we can promote widely with the use of making these environmental safely things, any products which you feel like are really really good when it comes to periods, because now that we have environmental safety is one of the things, and taking care of ourselves. So any new changes which you feel that womenhood should adapt to, and it could be very beneficial for the environment.
Right. So basically, when we talk of sustainable products or the basket of choices, it's important to first present to them a basket of choices to make them aware. And second, it is very important to give an enabling environment in the organization. We can't expect them to suddenly start using a menstrual cup if the toilet is not separate, or if they do not have a wash basin inside the loo. So we can't expect them to just out of the blue start using a menstrual cup or a cloth pad. There has to be an enabling environment that has to be given to bring about that sort of change. And also educating. At Sirona, we've actually started this whole movement, where we started educating women in the corporates about the basket of choice that is available, and they can happily choose from whatever they feel they're comfortable with. I mean, we're
Okay.
not pushing them to just either use a menstrual cup, or no, 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 just use a cloth pad, or a biodegradable tampon and stuff. But just giving them a basket of choice, and that they're free to choose. But I feel the most important to bring out such sort of policies is to provide an enabling environment, to make the organization as such aware about the requirements that would be appropriate for making such policies, or for um, pushing menstruating employees to start using these options. So yeah.
Right. Thank you so much. We had a lovely panel discussion where all the inputs from the panelists were very, very helpful. And now we are moving to the question answer round for the audience. We would not take more time. But one question from the audience is that Firoza, I'll start with you. It is that nowadays they are trying and giving the period pain to the men. It's been seen on social media. The pain meter, so ideally, it is an instrument which is put around a male, and on a scale from 5 to 10, they are putting the pain, increasing it. So, do you think that this kind of an instrument to the person, to a male person, if used, they would experience this, and it's a question asked by the audience. What would their reaction be, and how should we, treat it?
All right. I love this audience, yaar. शाम के 3:30 what questions you are asking. Brilliant. Uh, and I've actually heard this. And I've also heard this other nonsensical things like send men to the parlor to get them waxed. Dekho if, their threshold. And um, I just really feel that firstly, we need to understand that this is not just physical pain. This is not. There is a lot of emotional pain thanks to our hormonal circus that we go through. There is also a lot of social pain when we get ostracized, when we get
Yes.
stigmatized. So, yes, सिर्फ physical नहीं है. Maybe I don't know. I've not completely understood the question, but maybe if it's done from a point of view of seeking empathy, then maybe yes, I understand. Ki dekho pain, dekho, like how much is it? But I think that's not something I would personally ever sponsor or talk about because it's very different. There are very different levels of pain. Like I said, social, physical, mental. Like the list is endless, and men have their set of pain which maybe we
Yes.
need to be a little more cognizant of, or maybe sometimes usually the example that I use is it's not just the man's job to take care of finances at home. So you can't be dumping that responsibility entirely on the man of the house, or you know so I think similarly I don't think this can be compared, but for banter and jest, if we are doing it to test, then take it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for putting up your inputs out over here. Pooja, coming to you, when you're talking about the organizational policies, every organization has its own different policy. Do you think that every organization, in general, I'm talking about, should make a change in their policy and uh, should have a period policy being introduced from time to time, because we are talking about generations changing, and for future generations, should we make it very useful? What is your take on this?
Pooja, clearly it has to be, and obviously from this discussion also, right? We have to create a period positive inclusivity in the circle that we're living. I mean, there is no specific leave which we should introduce as such. Personally, I am myself not in favor of a period leave. So it's just that about the inclusivity, the understanding, the openness, which as an organization we should accept, and that should really solve for it. There should not be like a set of policy which has to be introduced. It's like a acceptance and taking it like Feroza said, it's natural. Just having that understanding should solve for the problem. We don't need to specifically have a policy for it.
Right.
We
Shweta,
just
coming to
create that
you.
environment around. That's it.
Okay, so give awareness creation among people and helping other people out to understand that this happens, and you should help your female workers when in their tough times. So basically that will help us in all organizations. Shweta, coming to you, women go through a lot of emotional and physical, imbalance during these times and focus on their family shifts altogether. When we say that they want to seclude themselves, they don't want to get involved in most of the things and they want their resting time, how can a professional woman balance it out in a good way? Any kind of examples could you help us over here, please?
So, as far as I understand, Pooja, as I have seen in my family and my friends as well, the male people who are there in your family, they are like, "Oh my God, thank God I am not a woman, because this is very painful. I don't want to go through this." They know that very clearly, and they empathize and have compassion for you, right? So. It's not that difficult for others to understand you. Probably we are going through that stigma, we don't want to open up and share. But if you are open to these natural things, I'm sure everybody around you will open up and share and understand what you are going through. So it's just about putting your thoughts out and making the other person understand. And like Firoza said, yes, there are people out there who are upcoming generations who are coming as a workforce. They are very empathetic, very compassionate, ready to deal with anything which is coming up, be it your female friends or male friends. They understand each other, gel with each other, because there is a lot of co-ed schooling which is going on nowadays. My 11-year-old who is not yet into his puberty, but he understands what mom is going through and she needs that space. He understands. So my husband understands. Similarly, the boss will also understand. So you really need to create that awareness. Yeah. So that can
Right.
help.
So thank you for all this lovely discussion what we have had today. The takeaway is that creating awareness at our workplace, informing our people whom we are associated with closely would make a lot of difference. And definitely each panelist shared their beautiful views, beautiful ways they have put up their thoughts. And it was lovely to have each one of you sharing your thoughts on this at this platform of Baby Chakra. I am 100% sure the Baby Chakra community, along with Sirona Hygiene, has had a positive impact on the audience who has been listening to us and definitely has had a great time. So I thank you to each one of you for joining us on live on this platform.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.